All right, guys, first topic of the day. Hard Knocks recently released a clip from their season debut of their new in-season version of the usual show, which is focusing on the Giants this year. It basically shows the Giants front office and general manager Joe Schoen discussing the future of Saquon Barkley in New York, as we know, which resulted in him walking as a free agent. Joe Schoen basically said that Daniel Jones is more valuable to the offense than Saquon Barkley. We're talking about Saquon Barkley, who is still a top 5 running back in the league and is still in his prime, as opposed to Daniel Jones, who isn't even top 20 in his position, not top 20 in the league. But the Giants decided to pay him as much money as Matt Stafford, Super Bowl champion Matt Stafford, and Dak Prescott, who say what you want about him, has been top 5 in passing 2 out of the past 3 years and led the league in touchdowns and passing touchdowns just last season. I can name 20 quarterbacks that are better than Daniel Jones and that I would rather have on my team. This list is Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar, Hurts, Josh Allen, Burrow, CJ Stroud, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Tua, Jordan Love, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Geno, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, a healthy Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I would take 40-year-old Joe Flacco on my squad than over Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones, he's not even the best quarterback on his team. I would take DeVito before I take Daniel Jones. This was truly one of the dumbest moves in sports by Joe Schoen. This might even be a worse move than paying Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, because you not only allow your best player to walk for nothing, you allow him to get picked up by your division rival in Philly, who was just in a Super Bowl the season before last, where now you got to see this man twice a year. It's one thing letting him walk, but you're letting him walk to a team that you play twice a year. I mean, Joe Schoen basically said, we're not paying Daniel Jones $40 million to hand off to a $12 million back. So what are you paying him to do? Because he can't throw? You're taking your best player off the field. With Saquon on the field, defenses had to play honest. They had to play the run first, which made it a little easier for Daniel Jones or DeVito or Tyrod Taylor, whoever you had back there, to move the ball through the air. So now with no Saquon on the field, you're expecting Daniel Jones to be able to pick defenses apart through the air? What are we hoping for here? What do you expect is going to happen this year? You expect Malik Neighbors to be that good his first year? I honestly feel bad for Malik Neighbors, because this is a guy who's going from playing with a explosive dual threat QB in Jaden Daniels, who some say was more accurate than Caleb Williams coming out of college, to now playing with Daniel Jones, who is more dependable for a turnover than a touchdown. I mean, Daniel Jones, he's going to be the worst quarterback in the division next year with Jaden Daniels coming in. Jaden Daniels is already going to be a better quarterback this year for the Commanders than Daniel Jones. And you can see how depressed Malik Neighbors is too at this. Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels, they had a bet in turn for who was going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year before the draft. And since training camp started, Malik Neighbors called it off. He called it off. So you know how training camp is going. You know how that relationship is going, how that's going, trying to catch balls from Daniel Jones. Malik Neighbors has no hope right now. I mean, being a Giant has sucked out all of his enthusiasm in terms of looking ahead to his rookie year. That's how bad Daniel Jones is. That's who the Giants decided to pay. You pay $40 million to Daniel Jones instead of breaking a piece off to Saquon, that at least would have made it a little easier for Malik Neighbors, would have opened up the pass more. But now defenses don't have to stack the box. They don't have to pay close attention to what's going on in the backfield running back wise. They should want Daniel Jones to throw the ball. The Giants passing game this season is going to be a defense's best friend. like a defense should be salivating at the thought of Daniel Jones having to drop back and make a read to hit a pass off of reading the defense. This is honestly, it's the best thing that could have happened to Philly. You not only add a log to the fire that was already within Saquon Barkley, but you light a fire underneath the whole team. The whole team is motivated now. AJ Brown confirmed that on Twitter. The Giants front office motivated the whole squad. So now we're ready for week 6. We're ready for game 2. And I have no shame in saying this. Saquon Barkley, he's rushing for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 6 at MetLife. At MetLife. If you thought Saquon Barkley wasn't going to lead the league in rushing this year, think again. If you thought he wasn't going to lead the league in rushing before, you better believe he's going to do it now. This is get back season for Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. Saquon Barkley, he's on his revenge type timing this season. It's really going to be an unstoppable offense because what Saquon Barkley brought to the Giants, he's bringing that same energy to Philly behind a better O-line. If Saquon Barkley could be a top 5 back behind that garbage O-line in New York, what you think he's going to do in Philly behind a top 3 O-line, even without Jason Kelce? We have a dual threat in Jalen Hurts. We have a top 3, if not the best receiver duo in the league in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. One of the best tight ends in the game right now in Dallas Goedert. I don't understand. I mean, if y'all don't act surprised this year. Eagles fans, this is going to be must-see TV. Giants fans, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry for what y'all are about to witness. Now, speaking of must-see TV, transitioning to the WNBA now, Magic Johnson, greatest point guard to ever play the game, arguably the greatest Laker to ever play the game, recently came out and compared Angel Reese's and Caitlin Clark's rivalry to his rivalry with Bird back in the day and what that did for the NBA. And I got to say, I couldn't agree anymore with this analogy. And I'm actually convinced that I was the first person to make an analogy like this back in March. Great. And, I think that the Stephen Curry comparison is a good comparison in terms of skill. But in terms of the bigger picture of things, I think the more appropriate comparison is Magic Johnson. Caitlin Clark is going to be the Magic Johnson of women's basketball. Because if we're looking at Magic Johnson doesn't get enough credit for the way that he changed the game in terms of quality and marketability. Before Magic Johnson, the Lakers were a good regular season team, but struggled in the playoffs. The NBA, it wasn't the conglomerate of entertainment that it is today. It wasn't on a national scale the way it is today. It wasn't as popular as it is today. When Magic Johnson came to the league, he not only turned around that Lakers organization, but he revitalized the whole NBA. He made the NBA more entertaining to watch. Along with the rivalry with Larry Bird, there would be no Showtime Lakers without Magic, and the NBA wouldn't be the same without the Showtime Lakers. I think Caitlin Clark could have that same effect on the WNBA, which is something they desperately need. That was a clip from my show, Saber Sports. Some of you all may watch, airs weekly on WTKR News 3 sister station, WGNT 27, owned by CBS and the Scripps Howard Foundation. The analogy I was making was more so focused on Caitlin Clark and Magic Johnson, where you see there are a lot of similarities between the two. Magic Johnson came into the NBA at a time where the league was struggling financially, just like the WNBA is now. The NBA and the ABA had just merged in 1976. Magic was drafted in 79. The league was nowhere near as marketable or popular as it is now. Back then, people were really just watching football. No one was really that worried about what was going on in the NBA. But Magic and the Showtime Lakers, along with their rivalry with Bird Celtics, changed everything. The league was never the same after that. I mean, that took the league to a whole new trajectory of stardom. Caitlin Clark coming into the WNBA at a time where the league hasn't made a profit since its start. But now we're already seeing the Caitlin Clark effect this season. Her team is able to charter flights to away games, something that has never been done before in the WNBA. The WNBA is selling out arenas. The Clark versus Angel Reese matchups are breaking records ticket wise and viewerships regarding the WNBA. We're already seeing the league take a step forward since Caitlin Clark has stepped on the floor. Magic Johnson just came off of winning a national championship before being drafted, had a huge fan base and following that he brought with him to the league. Caitlin Clark being a jaw dropper of a player, having the following and the fan base that she does, bringing that with her to the WNBA, a league that desperately needed more of a fan base, more attention. So we're already seeing the Caitlin Clark effect on the league now, and Angel Reese is a part of that. Angel Reese is a part of that. This rivalry is definitely something that the WNBA needed. But I'm also seeing Magic Johnson's analogy comparing the two rivalries. I'm seeing similarities in both rivalries in more ways than none. In the Magic versus Bird rivalry, one was a little bit bigger than the other. Magic was a little bit bigger than Bird, just like Caitlin Clark is a little bit bigger than Angel Reese. I mean, that's just a fact. Caitlin Clark is doing something in the WNBA that we have never seen before. She has a wow factor to her game and a flair to her game that the WNBA hasn't seen. Angel Reese, a dangerous and dominant player, effective, efficient, but she's not doing anything crazy. She's not doing anything that the league hasn't seen before. Caitlin Clark is changing the narrative. For Magic, it was his floor general and playmaking ability. It was the flashy passes. It was the different ways he could score. For Caitlin Clark, it's how she can pull up and hit a three from after stepping over the half court line, from being able to shoot from anywhere on the court, just like Stephen Curry does. They have that wow factor to their games. It's drawing views, it's drawing eyes, and again, this is no shot to Angel Reese, but Angel Reese isn't doing anything that's wowing people like Caitlin Clark is. If Caitlin Clark was drafted and Angel Reese did another year at LSU this coming year, we would still be seeing changes like this in the WNBA. We would still be seeing the league take a step forward. If the roles were flipped and Caitlin Clark did another year at Iowa and Angel Reese went on in the draft, we wouldn't be seeing these same changes. We wouldn't. Angel Reese would be good for views. She would be good for tickets. But Caitlin Clark, she's taking the league to a whole new level, just like Magic Johnson did. Magic Johnson and the Showtime Lakers, it fueled a fire for the WNBA that just kept on going. Their rivalry with the Celtics was a big part in that, but people wanted to see the Showtime Lakers. They wanted to see Magic in the Showtime Lakers. And so I feel like we're seeing a lot of similarities between specifically Magic and Caitlin Clark. But I got to say, I couldn't agree more with this analogy. And I think that all the WNBA needs now is a Michael Jordan type of player to come in and take the league the next step, just like Michael Jordan, the Bulls did for the NBA, which I think we'll see from Juju Watkins once she gets drafted. I think that'll be the next step in terms of the league's progression. But I think what's interesting too is the fact that Caitlin Clark coming in and doing what she's doing, it's not only drawing attention to her, but it's also drawing attention to the greats of the WNBA. Now, I'm not saying, and anyone who really watches basketball is not saying that Caitlin Clark is the best player in the WNBA. We know she's not. Not to say that she won't be or can't be, in the next 5 years or so. But I'm not saying she's the best. But having her in the league, doing what she's doing and bringing the attention to the league that she is, it's allowing more light to be shed on the great players in the league like Asia Wilson, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Sabrina Ionesco, Breanna Stewart, the stars in the league, Brittany Griner, the big names and stars in the league, the stars who we know are dominant in the WNBA. It's allowing more attention to be shed on them as well, having their names recognized as being the leaders of this league. So, and at the same time, it's sad that Caitlin Clark is getting hate for it at the same time. She even said that she's not even getting advice from her own vet teammates in terms of how she can do better in the league. You know how vets usually do. Vets usually mentor their rookie teammates, helping them to mature as players. We've seen that with Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm sure we're going to see it with Chris Paul and Wemby this year. We'll see that with Mike Conley and Rob Dillingham this year. We've already seen it with Mike Conley and Ant this year, looking at the progress he's made. We've seen that on multiple levels. Seeing that with all the guys Kobe played with. Seeing that with all the guys that LeBron has played with. Magic Johnson did it for Kobe, even though they weren't teammates. It's part of the sports culture. Older guys mentoring the younger guys. It's unfair that Caitlin Clark isn't getting that same treatment in the WNBA. These players shouldn't be hating her. They should be thankful for it. I'm not saying that they need to be praising her every 5 minutes. There's still a level of competition that needs to be in the league. But she's doing something for the WNBA that hasn't been done before, and which really could result in players making more money. Because if more people are watching the games, that brings in more money. That brings in more money for the league. If the league has more money, that means they can give more money to the players. So I'm really seeing the similarities between Caitlin Clark and Magic Johnson because, and like I said before, my prediction not only came true, it came true immediately. Caitlin Clark is the Magic Johnson of the WNBA. And I think that her rivalry with Angel Reese, something that was big in college basketball that is now transferred over to the pros, just like Magic's rivalry with Bird back in college. It's something that the league needed. And I think that if the league keeps going on this course, the WNBA, I see the WNBA growing as big as the NBA. I think it has that potential with the superstars that we are seeing emerging, because Caitlin Clark's effect on the WNBA, we're not only seeing the stars coming from college, but now we're seeing more of the superstars who are current superstars in the WNBA, allowing us to see all of the talent that this league has to offer. And I'm excited for it. But speaking of basketball, transitioning over to the NBA, Paul George signs a max contract with the Sixers for $212 million. Now, as I said before, you guys know this wasn't my first choice. Paul George is not my first choice, but looking at how this team is gelling together, I couldn't be happier. I mean, Paul George was clearly the way to go for the Sixers. in order to make them competitive in the conference that they're in alone. We're seeing the Knicks bringing in Mikal Bridges, re-signing OG Anunoby, looking like more of a championship contender, just as I said. The Celtics coming off their championship year, paying Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, or paying Jason Tatum, extending Derek White, having the deep squad that they do. Miami Heat. We'll have to see a healthy Miami Heat team next year, as I said before. We'll have to see who knows what the Cavs may look like next year. The Magic is only getting better, just picking up KCP. So I think that this was the best move that the Sixers could make at this point in time. A move that we really got lucky with, because the fact that the Clippers chose to pay James Harden over Paul George, they couldn't have worked out better for Philly. This was a move that will not only keep us competitive, but if Joel Embiid can stay healthy in the postseason, this could be a conference championship game this year. It really could. And it's interesting because Paul George, he's a perfect fit for the squad as well, because he plays great off ball. He doesn't need the ball in his hands in order to be productive, like James Harden. He's a guy who can give you 25 to 30, whenever he needs to. On a night where Joel Embiid may not be feeling it, where Tyrese Maxey may not be feeling it, but he's also a veteran guy that can help progress Tyrese Maxey, can give Tyrese Maxey the same confidence that James Harden did, while at the same time giving Maxey the freedom that he needs to develop. Because with James Harden, playing with James Harden definitely made Maxey a better player, but at the same time, it took the ball out of Maxey's hands a lot too, because he had to defer to James Harden, because James Harden was running the point. James Harden needed the ball in his hands in order to produce for us. Paul George isn't like that. Paul George doesn't need the ball in order to produce for us and be a valuable piece for us. He's a good player simply playing off of whoever is running the offense. Because, and I think this is going to translate to long-term as well, because we need Tyrese Maxey to be comfortable having the ball in his hands, having the offense run through him, especially for life after Embiid. So having a guy like Paul George that can not only instill or encourage and increase that confidence within our young rising superstar, but the fact that he also doesn't have to take the ball away from him and instead can feed off of him, I think that will make the Sixers more of a dangerous team as well, and really makes this arguably the best big three in the East, arguably in the league. This is going to be an interesting team to watch, especially if Joel Embiid can remain healthy. Now, one thing I will say is that this definitely puts more pressure on Embiid than anything else. Because like I said before, no matter what moves we make in the offseason, it doesn't mean a thing if Joel Embiid is not going to be available in the playoffs. It's not going to mean anything. We could have Paul George. We could have a defensive player of the year candidate in Ben Simmons. We could have Jimmy Butler. We could have even a rising young star in Maxey. It doesn't matter who we have. If Joel Embiid is not going to be healthy in the postseason, we're gonna lose in the second round, because this team only goes as far as Joel Embiid is willing to take us. And so I think it's going to be important to keep an eye on that as well, because if Joel Embiid can stay healthy, especially with the signings that the Sixers have made, re-signing Kelly Oubre, another wing, bringing in Andre Drummond, another big who can rebound, Eric Gordon, a guy who can be a spot up shooter or a ball handler for us. I think this is going to be This is really the year. This is really the year for Joel Embiid. This is really the best fitted team that I think Joel Embiid has been on since that 2019 team with Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, a mentally stable Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris as a fourth option, fifth option maybe. This is really the best team that Joel Embiid has had, and we got to give props to Daryl Morey for that. It's not Daryl Morey's fault. Has done his part. Daryl Morey has given you when you said you wanted Jimmy. He went and got you Jimmy. He went and brought in JJ Redick. You said you wanted Paul George. He gave you Paul George. So now that you have your guy, a guy who can be a perfect fit for the squad and can help this team improve offensively and defensively, Joel, you got to get it done, man. You got to pull it together this year, because now if we don't win this year, it'll be because you can't stay healthy, which now makes you the problem. And this goes back to a point that I made earlier this year. If Joel Embiid cannot stay healthy, why are we holding on to him? If Joel Embiid is never healthy in the playoffs, we know we're not going to win without Joel Embiid. We're not going to win with him on the team, but on the bench. If he is never available in the postseason, if he's just a dominant player in the regular season, looks like an MVP in the regular season, the best big man in the league in the regular season, but is absent in the playoffs or is not 100% or at least 70 to 80% in the playoffs, why do we have him? If Joel Embiid cannot get it done with this squad, with Paul George and with Maxey, then Daryl Morey, the time has come to part ways with Joel. Part ways with Joel while we can still get something in return. Don't let him walk like the Giants did. Don't be a Joe Shane. Don't be a Joe Shane and wait until his contract is up and just let him walk for free. Not to get even a bag of chips in return. Trade him while he is still valuable and worth something. A major piece that we can get other role players for, because I think we're seeing in the league this year that you don't need necessarily a big three to be successful. The Knicks were successful with not a big three, but instead a solid to good 7 to 8 guys that were reliable and could sustain a team. So if we were able to trade Joel Embiid for some additional role pieces that would allow us to sustain and that would complement Maxey and now a Paul George, well, I think that would be a good option for the Sixers as well, because this could make the Sixers not only a deeper team, but a more successful team, allowing us to make it past the third round. So I think it would be interesting to see. I think the pressure is definitely on Joel Embiid this year, because I don't think that the Sixers need Joel Embiid as much as we think we do, because Joel Embiid is a valuable trade piece right now. But time is ticking on that clock. Joel Embiid doesn't have many years of left on his prime. He's in his prime now and hasn't played over 70 games since he's been in the NBA. So the Sixers don't need Joel Embiid as much as we think we do long term. If anything, Joel Embiid needs the Sixers more than the Sixers need Joel Embiid. Because if we were to trade Joel Embiid for maybe like a role player or two with some additional draft picks, the Sixers could be a deep team like the Knicks, not having a real tier 1 superstar, but still having an emerging star that can score 25 to 30 points. Really, 2 stars that can score 25 to 30 points with an additional 7 to 8 solid to good role players, that would be enough to at least take us to the Eastern Conference Championship. But then that would also allow Tyrese Maxey to take that full-time bus driver spot to really be the full center of our team instead of having to rely and work off of a superstar like Joel Embiid, who unfortunately won't be around in the postseason. So I definitely think that this will be something for Sixers fans for us to keep our eyes on this year, because this could very well be the last year for Joel Embiid if he gets hurt. Because if he gets hurt this year, there should be nothing stopping us from trading him for some additional pieces. But that's a wrap for episode 2 of No Shame with Shane. As always, I appreciate you for tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to support us on social media. Hit us with a follow, hit us with a subscribe. We are active on all social media pages: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Full episodes are available on YouTube and Spotify, so be sure to keep tuning in, and we will be back same time next week for more Shameless Takes.